Hello and welcome to another episode of ForgeTalks. The need for digital identity has grown and grown and grown over the last decade or so, but particularly in the last 6 months. But more than that, the need to be optimized, flexible and elastic has made identity in the cloud more and more prevalent. And I'm joined today by Renee Beckloff, who is ForgeRock's VP for Cloud Success, to talk about cloud. Renee, thank you for joining me. Welcome to ForgeTalks.
Oh, thanks. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. So give us a little introduction, Renee, if you will. What is identity in the cloud?
Oh, yeah, I'd be happy to. I've spent the last 15 years of my life dedicated to the cloud, and I think that's important because I have watched the cloud transform over the years from a, oh my goodness, we can't do this, to an, oh my goodness, we've got to have this. And, what I see with Identity Cloud, and I think why it's so prevalent, obviously with COVID, we went from, take the banking industry that was 40% online traffic, 60% brick and mortar traffic, to literally overnight they had to shift that dynamic to where they were 95% online and 5% brick and mortar. And what happened was nobody was ready for that. Nobody expected that. There wasn't this, there wasn't any kind of notice that this was coming. They just had to do it. And for workforce, that's one thing. And workforce has been pretty stable. You're not seeing a complete, you're online, or we've gone remote work from home, but that's been coming over the time, but we've never seen this kind of transformation. And so customers were looking to get online as quickly and as easily as possible. And the only way to have done that and accomplished that was by utilizing cloud. And that's why we're here today. And that's why we've invested such a strategic initiative into the Identity Cloud.
And so what are some of the benefits then of doing identity in the cloud?
So I think that fundamentally what it provides you is flexibility. We talk about the myth of flexibility, and that is true. There is a myth of flexibility, and a lot of people have seen that, but we'll talk about that in a minute. I think fundamentally the biggest benefit is the ability to scale to your need. Okay.
Right.
When you talk about specifically customers, okay, and consumers, their ability to consume your product has got to be there to maintain your level of revenue and your success.
Sure.
And when you're dealing with a very difficult, and almost archaic way of scaling up, it makes it very challenging. So having the functionality there to scale at, it'll be elastic, as the word I think you used, be elastic and scale to, what you need when you need it is critical. And I think that's the biggest, if you were to ask me, the biggest flexibility of it. And then fundamentally too, the ability not to have to manage infrastructure and not putting, very, very important budgetary dollars into managing infrastructure where you can use those instead to take care of your customers.
Yeah, such a good point. And you mentioned about the myth of flexibility there. What are some of the common myths then around moving to cloud? Because I know a lot of people are hesitant about making the leap to cloud. So what are some of those common myths?
Well, I'll give you a little bit about them. I don't want to go too far into detail because I'm actually going to be speaking on this at ForgeRock Identity Live, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Number one, I think first and foremost that I've watched over the years and really hasn't gone away is the idea of security. So security and compliance, when you look at, I think it was Facebook and Salesforce just recently were hit with massive GDPR fines and privacy fines in Europe.
Yeah.
That scares people. They see cloud and they get nervous about that. So one of those myths is you can't have the level of security and privacy that you have on-prem, and you can. The second one is the idea of predictability. When you have this transformation overnight and you go to nearly 100% of your business being online at mass scale, a lot of companies worry about getting hit with surcharges for over limit and actually, their monthly usage just skyrockets overnight. And then finally, and I think this is my favorite myth, is flexibility. we and ForgeRock, we've got a product that's been on premise for many years
Hmm.
and been in the cloud, and people have been able to customize. The last thing we want to do is have them have to figure out how to make their business work with our cloud. That's one of the biggest things that we see in terms of myths is if I move to the cloud, I give up flexibility. And that's not the case. And we will talk about this at length at Identity Live coming up, because I think these are critical to executives looking to move to the cloud, how we can do away and dispel those myths with actual facts and performance.
Amazing. Yeah. So you mentioned there that obviously we have our Identity Live Cloud Edition coming up next week. And you're going to be debunking and unpacking some of these myths, and that's going to be brilliant. But do you want to just tell us a little bit about that event that we've got coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind pitching here and there. So, we're really excited, and I think it's going to be a fantastic event. The fact that we're
Mm,
going to be continuing it, three different times, just to make sure that you can meet it again, taking care of what you need, and wanting to make sure that customers have it and don't have to show up in their pajamas. So, from that perspective, from an overall ForgeRock always interested in what the customers are doing, and we want other customers to understand what other people are doing. So one of the things that we're going to be talking a lot about is how to use the Identity Cloud as a differentiator with your customers. One
mm,
of the things, again, we are all facing this new world, and a lot of companies, again, using the bank example, they had to change from being a brick and mortar predominant business to overnight sensation of cloud first, and everybody
mm,
reaching out on, online. A lot of people weren't prepared for that. And so
mm,
those that can adapt and can use our functionality, it's going to be a competitive differentiator, because when we build our product, and I like to tell people about this, we actually take our customer's customer as a persona that we utilize to build the product. So it really does allow for a customer or a differentiator for your customer base. The other thing is we're going to talk about the cloud transition overall for companies that were hesitant to do it before. They have no choice now, between not being able to get to work. I can remember the days of VPNs that were only between my headquarter office and the data center. You can't do that anymore. So
yeah.
customers are really going to be looking at how, and we've found a lot of our executives, customer executives, that have had to speed up that transformation to the cloud and cloud first technology, and
Sure.
utilize budget that, they need to use that budget that was for infrastructure management, for managing their security patches, and they can't afford that budget anymore, those dollars being spent there. They've got to go up to the cloud where they're not spending on that and they're focused on their customer experience. And so we're going to talk a lot about that, and obviously debunking myths, one of my favorite things. I was a Mythbuster fan all my life. And so that's another big one. And then finally, it wouldn't be an identity user conference without talk about the innovations that we're going forward with and what we see coming down the path in this new generation of online and commerce, the way that we are going to learn it post COVID. So I'm excited, and I hope you're going to, that we have good interactions with customers. I'm sure we will, because our customers are not known for being quiet and just sitting in the corners. So there you have it, Fraser.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be an absolutely amazing event. So I do hope that you will register and come along to that. We're going to be running it 3 times across a few different time zones across the 23rd and 24th of September to make it nice and easy for you to log in wherever you are in the world, unless you're me and you have to go to all 3 of those. Um, so, Renee, look forward to seeing you next week at the event. It's going to be really great. And thank you so much for coming along today and giving us a little teaser of what to expect.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to seeing you next week, Fraser.
Absolutely. And guys, we won't have a Forge Talk next week, so you have absolutely no excuse not to register for Identity Live Cloud Edition. So I look forward to seeing you there next week.